Am I the butthole for not helping a lady at the doctor's office when she was having a hard time with her kids? Because of some arbitrary rule, I don't understand. I have to go and see my therapist every month to have my antidepressant refilled. Don't know why this doctor requires me to do that. My last doctor was allowed to write a 3-month script and I could call him if I needed help with anything. This doctor makes me come in for a whole damn therapy appointment, something I can't afford, but I have to have my meds. I'm searching for a new doc. Anyway, rant over, sorry. I was at the doctor waiting for my appointment. There was a woman in the waiting room, the only other person. She was probably the doctor's partner's patient, I don't know, don't care. She had 2 kids with her, one looked like it was 5 or 6, the other one was small and still in a stroller, so 2 or 3, I guess? The bigger kid was playing on an iPad and I guess the battery died or his game stopped working. Something happened and the kid started throwing a fit, screaming and flinging his arms around. I was using my own device with headphone, but I had them turned down so I could hear when the receptionist called my name for me to go back, and I could hear the whole tantrum. Couple minutes into the kid throwing a fit, the littler one started throwing one too, not sure why. I guess the older screaming made it angry? I don't know kids, I don't why they do things, don't like them, don't want them, never held a baby, never want to. I tried to ignore them but they were loud as F. I could hear the older screaming, "She has an iPad, she has an iPad." Over and over again, pointing at me. The mom gets my attention and asks me if the kid can watch what I'm watching or maybe he can play a game and she can give me, like, $1 for every 5 minutes or something. I declined. Number 1, I don't let anyone touch my devices, and number 2, I don't believe in rewarding bad behavior. The kid was screaming and acting like a fool. You don't give a kid a cookie when he throws his dinner on the wall, he'll just keep doing it. The mom starts begging me, saying that she can't calm the little one down if the older one is screaming and could I just help her out. I declined again, because the whole kid thing, I just can't with kids, they set me off. Frankly, kids give me anxiety. They always seem sticky and dirty and loud. The mom called me some choice names and ended up taking the kids outside. I got called back to my appointment like 5 minutes later and didn't see them when I got back out. The receptionist told me the lady had to leave because she couldn't get them to calm down, and the way she told me this kind of made me feel like she was trying to make me feel bad about it. It isn't my job to babysit someone's kids in public. You should plan for this stuff when you take kids places, in my opinion. I paid my bill and went home. Was I a butthole because I wouldn't hang out with this kid? Hello stranger, can my child use your expensive technology? Not the butthole. And you already know mommy dearest wouldn't pay for repairs when the kid whipped it into the wall and shattered it. He didn't mean to. As if we only get the consequences we intend. You let him use it. I feel like this also belongs on our /entitled parents Reddit link. Definitely. The audacity of some people. SMDH. Some people's parents. He's just a kid. Yup, that's why he can't have it. Kid slams it to the ground. Huge, never behaves that way at home. He must have seen something on your screen that upset him. Hey, there are schools of ethics where the intended consequence is all that matters to determine if an action was ethical or not. I hope boundaries and entitlement were a couple of key words getting thrown around in her therapy sessions, or she wasn't getting anything out of them. Exactly. When I had kids that young, I had a husband that I could not count on. 1. Make plans /babysitter 2. If you have to take the kids, then you take them outside right away when this behavior starts. Have a chat with the oldest, remind him of the consequences, losing toys, technology time, etc., and make him sit until he is quiet. 3. Go in and apologize to everyone that had to listen to it, if you go back in, or leave. Mom has choices as breeding entitlement and immediate gratification. They now think there is a connection with them and alcohol and drug addiction. My daughter had a meltdown because my husband bought her candy and toys every time he took her shopping. Luckily, he rarely did shopping. I had a full cart and was exhausted. However, I parked it, took her in the bathroom, no it was not gross, very clean place, and made her sit until she stopped. It was a long time. Thank goodness, every mother that came in said to me, "Good for you." She never ever did it again. This is exactly what I was thinking. Pretty much. Lady, my iPad Pro is like 900 pounds, no, your small child who is prone to tantrums and screaming cannot use it. Also definitely off-putting to see a parent asking to use a stranger's iPad just because a kid has seen that they have one. Like, WTF? She has an iPad. I want hers if they are any older than 4. That shouldn't be happening, and at 4 unless you should be shutting that crap down. That's how you get a real-life Veruca Salt. Ma'am, I need you to go home and watch Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Please take note of Veruca. I have my new response to entitled parents. Actually, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory version is better, since in that one Veruca acts up big time in the Golden Goose area. Knocking things over, pushing a cart into a tower of boxes, and all kinds of stuff. I want IT now. And touch your stuff and get super close to you during a pandemic? No. That was my thought as well. And I normally don't dislike kids, but ew. Right. I love kids, but they're little germ procreation factories. I'll limit my interactions to the kids who are already related to me, thank you. Even if you were willing to let the kid look over your shoulder, they'd be in the same predicament 5 minutes later when you went back to your doctor with your iPad. It's not like you'd leave it with them to use, so another fit would have been thrown at that point, too. Definitely not the butthole. Mother should have brought a charger. Or, raised her kids to not be entitled brats. I mean, it's not like iPads need to be charged at special locations. If you can't parent your child in any other way except to sit them in front of an electronic device for hours, bring a charger. Original poster was not the answer to that woman's children's tantrums. Helping someone with their children always seems like a no-win scenario. Sometimes they are accepting of the help, and gracious, sometimes they are offended. Never should someone be expected to help. Especially at a therapy office, you have no clue why other patients are there. And the woman probably, definitely, has a phone that she could have given the kid to play with / watch something on. I feel bad for the lady, I really do. It's bad enough to have to take kids to a therapy appointment that's supposed to be something that helps you, not makes your life harder, and then you have to edit what you say in front of your kids to your therapist, etc. I'd feel worse coming back from that appointment. Chances are the lady probably had to go into her meds or something. Like original poster. But there's no way I'd hand someone my $1,000 product. What if something happened to it? Like the kid tossed it against a wall, or it somehow stopped working right after I got it back? They wouldn't buy me a new one. Or what if they try to keep it? What if I had sensitive information on that device, or got messaged a nude or something while kid was watching? What if I had been watching something inappropriate for kids? Would the mom want me to find some Paw Patrol or something instead? Sorry, but I'd have said no too. I would probably put the device away to not trigger the kid more, but they wouldn't have been using it either way. Not the butthole. Thank you. Finally, someone in the comments who also feels bad for the lady. She is seeing a therapist, so she probably has some issues that are a factor in her trouble with kids. Imagine being depressed, having major anxiety, etc., and still raising 2 kids. Must be hard. You shouldn't give in to your kids' tantrums and set up rules, but I understand that it is super hard to follow through, especially with mental health issues. So yes, I also feel bad for the lady. That being said, I also wouldn't give her my device. I don't even let my nephew use my phone. Kids are sticky and they lick their fingers, and I don't want that on my device. And I love that kid to bits. So no way, I would give my phone or iPad to a stranger. I agree. Original poster is definitely not the butthole, but the woman was desperate, so her first ask wasn't necessarily butthole either. She could have been hoping there was a 1% chance original poster was like, you know what? I've been there with my own toddler, or sibling or whoever. Or that original poster had a charger on her she could lend. Or that original poster had just ordered a new iPad because this one was on its last legs, so her investment in this one was minimal, unlikely, but desperate times. But original poster had no obligation to say yes, so everything the woman did / said after that point was the only butthole behavior here. Pretty much sums it up as far as I can tell. Agreed, not the butthole. Can my bratty child? Not the butthole. Can my tantrum-prone child use your expensive technology? In the middle of a pandemic. Hello stranger, can my child use your expensive technology? All your expensive technology that has access to all your email, personal information, passwords, bank accounts, and social media after just watching him break your same device. And it wasn't even just that. The kid was having a physical temper tantrum. What kind of stupid person would give a strange child that is flailing around something so expensive to play with? Because you don't just hand it to them, you have to get it back in one piece. And the first meltdown over an iPad not being able to be used does not make it look super promising that original poster would have gotten theirs back without some sort of damage. It sucks that the lady has 2 children that are young to deal with when she goes places. It really does. I'm not going to say, well, she should pay for child care, or not make appointments because that isn't always a viable option. But even asking if he could get his hands on someone else's iPad for her convenience was super inappropriate, and asking more than once was extremely rude and entitled to me. I know calming down screaming kids can be difficult, but a tablet should not be the only weapon in her arsenal to keep him entertained while they're out, and maybe shouldn't be in the mix at all if it triggers a meltdown when it stops working for whatever reason. ETA, original poster is not the butthole. Her loud, misbehaving child at that. I would never ask or accept that. What is wrong with people? 100%, and what does the incompetent mom do when screaming monster breaks my electronics? This is what happens when you rely on devices to parent. Not the butthole. Yeah, I don't think we need to be calling the mom incompetent. Having 3 small kids is enough to drive anyone nuts. Every parent I know started off saying they would never use devices. Guess what? When your kid has been screaming for an hour, you start to think, hey, maybe it's better for the kid to use the device for a while than have me snap and kill everyone in this room. It's especially challenging when you are out and about. Kids are bored, you can't give them full attention. They keep asking to go home. Can we go home? When can we go home? That said, asking strangers for their devices is out of line. Not the butthole, but everyone needs some sympathy for this woman. Exactly. Ugh. Now imagine when these kids become teens, and eventually adults. Not the butthole. She's totally entitled to assume you'd hand over an expensive iPad, or any device for that matter, over to a screaming kid. On top of that, if it was accidentally dropped or had juice spilled and it was ruined, I seriously doubt she'd be paying to repair/replace it. She'd probably cite some lame excuse of kids being kids, you should have watched it better/known better. On top of all that, we are still in a worldwide pandemic. She doesn't know you, where you've been, who you've associated with, just as you know nothing about them. Would be pretty sucky to end up sick because some booger kid and his entitled mom demanded use of your device. I'd be surprised if the waiting room didn't have outlets. Did she forgot a charger? Asking if original poster had a charger they could borrow would be far more reasonable. And still acceptable to refuse, since one might not get it back. That is still ignoring the underlying issue. You suck at parenting if your kid can't handle not staring at a screen for 5 freaking minutes. What the hell is that crap? And also throwing a several-minute-long tantrum at 5 or 6. That's kindergarten age. Kid is old enough to comprehend discipline, mom just doesn't want to bother. I mean, original poster also could have wildly misaged the kid. I've got a few friends with tall 3-year-olds that you could easily assume are in kindergarten/first grade. Still BS, but a 3-year-old throwing a fit is a little more understanding. This is accurate. My cousin's oldest kid came up past my hips at 3. He's 5 now, but that kid could totally pass for 9 to 10. Not necessarily. You don't know what level the kid functions at. There are a lot of disabilities where kids look totally normal but function at lower age levels or cannot connect discipline. Op is still not the butthole, but that doesn't mean the mom doesn't bother or the kid can understand consequences. They're also at a doctor's, so he could be poorly and feeling unwell and thus more prone to tantrums. Or he may be stressed by the change to his schedule, etc. Kids do well with boundaries, or some are easily thrown off by small changes to a routine. Also, just because she's giving in at a doctor's doesn't mean she always ponders to him in at her contexts. In a doctor's waiting room, you just do whatever you can to shut them up. At home, they can be sent to a naughty corner or punishes, or you can wait it out. But if you do that in public, you have to add in the judgmental stares and likelihood that it will be worse and louder before it gets better. Mother was an ass for not backing off at the first no. But the initial ask, whilst perfectly reasonable to refuse, wasn't butthole-ish. Pushing was rude. The last bit especially. The other day someone dropped some groceries and I didn't help pick them up because of that. Made me feel crap, but what can you do really? As for the kids, that's just nice of you help out, but you never have to, certainly not when they ask to hand over things. I wouldn't even give me phone to my own kids. She's totally entitled to assume you'd hand over an expensive iPad, over to a screaming kid. That doesn't read the way I think you intended to. She definitely is not entitled to assume that, she just feels entitled to assume that. She's being totally entitled. As in, that's very entitled of her to assume. I interpreted that line to mean, she's a totally entitled person to assume. But you're right, it doesn't read like that. They mean, she is totally entitled to assume, as in, she's being an entitled butthole. Not the butthole. I feel bad for the lady, but, yeah, you can't be expected to trust a random out-of-control screaming kid with your iPad. While your inner dialogue through the ordeal was not the kindest, a little empathy will serve you well in life. I do agree that you don't give in to a screaming kid. That just empowers the kid to do it more, do it louder, and they get what they want. Clearly, this mom had not set a lot of boundaries for the kid to escalate the situation so bad. So while she's not a butthole entirely, she sure had made some lazy parenting choices to put her in this situation. Huge first instinct should not have been to ask a stranger to use the iPad. Her first instinct should be to have the kid occupy himself or herself and, if the tantrum started, apply appropriate redirection and discipline. Original poster replies, yeah, I know I need to work on my empathy. I'm having a hard time right now loving myself, let alone strangers. The isolation hasn't been good for me. Not the butthole. Do not beat yourself up. We are in the midst of a horrible virus. You are anxious because you are at the doctor's office waiting for an appointment. Those children are not your responsibility. Don't worry about what some stranger said to you about not helping her. You had enough stress of your own going on. Electronic devices are expensive and not for handing over to strange, or known LOL, children. You didn't say those words to the mother, you just thought them, and you are fine. Honestly, the fact that you kept those thoughts internal even when faced with such a completely unreasonable request is very impressive. Not the butthole. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.